Exercise 7, Creo Parametric 4.0, Advanced Modeling. I call this more, actually it's more like an intermediate with a couple little advanced features. It's not super advanced. But basically what we're going to do here, if you look at this does not look like it's all that complex of a part. But the truth be known, the feet pads are the most complex of it. And just some of the techniques that I'm going to show you how to use here, that might save you a little bit of time. But we're going to be using or generating a 3D guide curve in the software. And that's rather an interesting effect. And that's how we get those bends, those complex bends in that wire that you see there on the 4 foot pads. So let's go ahead and explore this. Start with a new part file and go ahead and label it E7 for exercise 7. We'll first begin on the front plane and start a sketch. We're going to first draw out, if you're looking at your manual, the training guide here, we're going to draw out just one of the foot pads, and notice I have this separated, so if this is all you really want to learn or take from this lesson, by all means this is where you can stop. There are some additional functions that I show you later on which are very helpful, I think, but for an advanced user those things you probably are going to know already. But here we're going to go ahead and first make this front view. As you see here, it looks kind of like a question mark almost, and then we're going to make a side view and make the tool to bend the wire on there. So you can see it's about 4 inches in height, 1.5, 15 degrees, and 1 inch radius. So with that being said, take the line tool and first draw out a short little vertical line and middle click a couple times. Let's just get that to size, about 1.5, and then go ahead and hit delete on your keyboard to delete or weaken that dimension. Okay, or you could click on it and hit delete on your keyboard and make it a weak dimension. Alright, so with that now we're to scale, and we're going to go ahead and find the arc tools and go with center and ends. Move your pointer and float it directly above the vertex of that line and click. Drag it down to connect to the vertex. Click again and drag it around. And we saw this tool back in exercise 4, so it's a good review for you there. Okay, first of all, let's change that to 1.5 for the radius there. Also, go into the center line tool and select the opening here right there, and then click on the center point and then middle click. And let's go ahead and go to dimension, and dimension between that center line and this line down here, and middle click, and that's going to be 15 degrees, a little opening there. Alright, and finally dimension from the center point to the bottom end of this line, middle click to drop it, and that's going to be 4 inches. Last thing we're going to do here is we're going to go to the fillet tool and select right about there to here, middle click a couple times and find the dimension and just change it to 1 inch. Alright, we have our profile of our wire ready. Now if you notice, if I rotate this, it's flat. We need to bend it, and so let's go ahead and hit OK. Now to bend it, we're essentially going to project it onto what you might think of like a die almost. So select your right plane in your feature tree and go ahead and start a new sketch. Take the line tool and right at the origin there, click and drag out a short little line. You can see the solid line that goes along here. That's actually your sketch from earlier. Let's go ahead and right about there, click, drag it down at about a 45-ish degree angle, click, and then drag it clear across just like that. And now middle click a couple times. This is going to be 130 degrees. Oops, and let me hit undo there. I must not have hit the 0. Let's try that again. 130, hit enter. There we go. Okay, this dimension will be 1 inch. And remember, you can use the dimension tool if you're not getting these. The next dimensions we're going to put are the fillets. So go to the fillet and click here and here and there and there. Middle click a couple times, change 1 to 1, change them both to 1 if you like, or use an equal constraint. Select both geometries, and now they become equal. It might have weakened this dimension. Let's go ahead and fix that. Just drag that out again, change it to 1. Okay, go to dimension and select this line right here. Drag it down, middle click, and that, let's just verify the manual here. That's going to be 2.25. All right, and now this is going to be 1.7. And we are ready. We're done. Now we could go ahead and hit OK. All right, that's going to be our tool, and this is going to make it look more like a tool to bend our wire on. Let's go to extrude, and it should have been pre-selected for us. If not, go ahead and select that little line. Go ahead and change it to mid-plane and drag it out about 4 inches. Really doesn't matter because it's just our tool. We're going to hide it later on. Go ahead and hit the green check. Now you can see our curve right there, and we want to bend it onto our collection of surfaces, or what they call project. So that being said, let's go to project, and the surfaces, click on references and click in the surfaces box, and you're going to have to hold control while you select all of these surfaces here. And once they're all selected, now you could go to the chain, select the wire that you created, and the direction reference. Go ahead and click in there and select this flat surface up here and flip the arrow so it's pointing down. And you should start seeing a little preview of the wire being bent. And if it looks like that, you're in good shape. You could go ahead and hit the green check mark. And let's go ahead, we're going to hide a couple of these things. First of all, you could right click on this, actually select it with the left mouse button and click on the eyeball to hide it. And you could also click on this and click on hide. We don't need to see that anymore. Okay, so there's our wire. We're ready now to sweep. So go to sweep up here, select near the end of that wire, but not on the end. And hopefully you get a little arrow. If the arrow is over here, just hit the little arrow to flip it so it's back there. That's where we want to start our sketch. And over here we could hit create the section via a sketch. Click on that and take the circle tool, and right at the center of the crosshairs, go ahead and click and drag out a circle, middle click a couple times, and go ahead and change it to 0.5. All right, and now we're ready to hit OK. And we should see it sweep along. And we've bent our wire. That's the most advanced part of this. The other sections, like I said, are there's some really neat maybe techniques that you might not know. Feel free to watch them. But let's move on here. We're going to create that what looks like a Muffin Fan Grille. Okay, so let's go ahead and now select the front plane, and we're going to go just start a sketch on it. Now again, it rotated it the way I don't usually like, so feel free to click on Saved Orientations and just go to front so we all look like we're on the same plane, even though we were to begin with. But go to Line, and right at the bottom there, click and drag down a line, middle click. Now go to the Arc Tools, hit the little arrow to the right and find Tangent End Arc. And right here, click and drag this down. Don't go straight across to the left. Drag it down and hook it just a little bit like that. Click and middle click a couple times. Change the radius to 1 inch. Change the length to 7. And finally, let's use that little trick again with the center line, endpoint to center point, middle click. And look at that, I actually got it right the first time. So this is going to be 45 degrees. The reason why we're putting this in is our goal is to create 1/2 of this bent wire and then mirror it over to the other side. And we're making it 45 degrees because it's a 90 degree. Excuse me. It's a 90 degree elbow. Okay, now we could go ahead and hit OK. And we have our wire again. Let's go ahead and select it and go to sweep. Now, this time, this little arrow has to be flipped. We need to have it start back here. Now, we want our profile to follow that edge. So what we're going to do, we'll go ahead and click on Create Sketch. Let's zoom out here. And don't try and use the project tool. I've had difficulty with that one. Concentricity or concentric is the better one. That seems to work much better. Click on that edge, drag it out, and snap it back. One time only, don't add too many. Middle click a couple times to end it, and hit OK. And you'll see it will connect out and hit all right. That's all made of one. If we ever double click and change the diameter, both will update. Okay, now we're going to mirror this across, so you have to hold Control and select both sweeps 1 and 2. Go to the mirror tool and the mirror plane, click in that little box and select this end face. Hit the green check. If you have any difficulty with mirroring it, it may be because you use the project tool, but I haven't tested in this latest release. Maybe it's not going to be an issue. Okay, so we have our 90-degree elbow. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make another half of the rings that go around. So we have to find the center, which is essentially the intersection point of these two lines if we found the theoretical sharp corner. So let's find that. First of all, select the right plane and begin let's go to revolve actually. Click on revolve. Okay, down below, go to reference up here and make a reference right at that point. This is going to enable us now to draw a center line right at the center of that circle. Oh, let me make sure I have it selected and draw it horizontal across. That is our theoretical sharp corner, the center point of the entire model once it's complete. Okay, now we could go ahead and go to the circle tool. Now what's really neat here, just go to center and point, and between these two pieces of material, just find yourself between them and click and drag out a circle and let it snap to equal. See that little equal symbol right there? When it snaps to equal, look at it, it's making it equal to our reference geometry. So everything is going to be 1/2-inch diameter wire. I know you're thinking, well, that's a huge muffin fan. Yes, it is. I just like using the even numbers. Okay, middle click, and now let's go ahead and change some of these things. First of all, this dimension here needs to be 0.485. We're going to have it dig slightly into the actual geometry of the wire above it, welding it together. If we don't do this, we create disjointed bodies. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Otherwise, you could create it using an assembly too, and then have it wired together. This should be 1.5 exactly. And now let's go ahead and draw some additional circles. Go back to the circle tool, and up here, align to that circle, draw it out until it snaps to equal again. And you're going to do that two more times, and just go up that wall. Okay, now we have to dimension the distance between each one of those. So from center to center, from here to here, middle click, that's going to be 2.5. From center to center, middle click, 2.5. Center to center, middle click, 2.5. And it should get very close to the top there. So see how we staggered these? Well, now we could go ahead and hit OK. You see it creates the full 360 degrees, which actually we don't want. We're going to go to options here, and this enables you to set it to a variable. Let's set the first one to 45 degrees and hit enter. Then it enables you to go to side 2 and select variable and put in the difference. We want 180 degrees of this arc. So 180 minus 45 is 135. And so we've added the 45, 135. That gives us our full 180 degrees. And you're probably guessing, oh, yes, we're going to mirror that. So let's go ahead and do that. So Control select all the geometry in the feature tree. Okay, except the sketch. You don't need the sketch. Go to mirror, and now click in the mirror plane and select one of these little flat end faces and hit the green check mark. And you are done. Make sure you save that as a backup, and now move on to the lab. Okay, if you're going to watch the lab, I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. Here we have lab 3D, and it's the second half of that receptacle assembly that we started on last week. And this should fit. There's one dimension I might note that's missing on here. I have to update this drawing. This hole should be 0.125 diameter, so if you're looking at that and there's no dimension, my apologies. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create this. It's a 1.75 by 3.5 block that's a wall thickness, thickness here 0.125. So let's start a new part file, and we'll go ahead and call this lab 3B. Select the front plane and go to extrude. Use the center rectangle, draw out your rectangle, and go ahead and add the 1.75 by 3.5 parameters. Also here, let's take a look at that drawing again. This is on page 83. Oh, this is lab 3D. My apologies. Make sure when you save it, do a save as, changes to lab 3D. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we could put the chamfers on. They're 45 degrees by 0.125 if I recall. Here, let's see. No, that's the typical. Yeah, 0.125. Okay, so we could use the chamfer tool here and put those in. Click here to here. And we'll go ahead and put those in here. Now, we probably could have used a feature chamfer, as this now is more work than it had to be. So, not the best option here. I thought I'd try it. Suppose we can make these equal. That might help. Okay, and it rearranged our parameters here, so make sure you change those back. Oh, actually, it did not. I didn't realize that. It was actually truncating it. So those are no good. We could hit undo here. And I don't like those, though. Let's go with the dimension tool and just go from here to here. 1.75. And from here to here, 3.5. All right. Now we could go ahead and we could also put the through hole in. And that, remember, is not on the print. My apologies, 0.125. You'll find mistakes like that in my work from time to time. Okay, now we could go ahead and hit OK, and it is 0.125 thick. Hit apply. Now we could select this face and go to extrude and mimic what we did last time with the center rectangle tool. I'm going to go ahead and draw one of them over here. And let's take a look at the details on that. They're 0.846 across, or for height, I should say. 0.305 from here. And the width, let's see. Oh, it's up here. 1.115. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put in those arcs, so radius of 0.745. So let's go to the arc tool, make sure it's a 3-point. Click and go clear across. There we go. You have to go straight up. Click, drag this up. Let it snap right about there. Middle click. And I already forgot what that was. Let's see, it's 0.745. Okay. Also, we could transform this. Let's go ahead and click on this to construction. And we'll go ahead and we'll mirror this across. So we need center lines, vertical and horizontal. Vice versa, as I messed it up there. Okay, and now let's go ahead and we'll mirror this. Select that, go to mirror, and select the center line. And now I could click on this and convert that to construction. Now we'll go ahead and select this geometry, go to mirror, and mirror it across. And now we could extrude that. And I believe it's 0.125. Again, we'll have to verify that. Yes, 0.125 for the thickness. Okay, there's some chamfers off those edges that are 0.05 by 45. So let's go ahead and we'll put those in over here. Chamfer. It actually is at 0.5. And if we go distance to distance that equal, it will automatically make 45. So we could just go ahead and put these on. Oops. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and shell this out. So let's flip it around the back, go to shell, select the face, and let's verify before we apply that the typical wall needs to be set to 60 thousandths, 0.06. All right. Now we make the little cutouts. Select the face, go to extrude, and we'll do one on one side. We will not mirror it though. We'll actually pattern it across because they're not mirrored entities. Okay, so for this, let's look at the details there. We got a little one, big one, little one. All right, I'm not going to put all the dimensions in exactly as I have it. I'm just going to kind of put them in, and then you could go ahead and add the dimensions because by this time you should be understanding how this all works. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and put in a little arc, go straight up and around. And then remember to click on that little one and turn off the construction. Okay, now we could go ahead and cut that. Again, make sure the dimensions are correct. I'm not doing that here, but hit apply. And then you would just mirror it across. So the mirror, I should give you a dimension here, or we could do the math. 1.73. Okay, so we select that, not mirror, I'm sorry. Select the feature, it's a pattern. Select, instead of dimension, go to direction, select this top edge, and flip the direction. There are going to be two, and that was 1.75, I think. Let's verify that. 1.73, okay. And there we have it. Let's just make sure there's no other dimensions on there. Nope, looks good. We are done. And make sure that's saved as L3. If you want to see how to save that differently, just do a save as. And you could do save a copy. And now you could actually rename it L3D. And that's complete. And this concludes exercise 7.